Hey everyone, Dr. Weird 28 here. And today I wanted to go over storage and managing space in Escape from Tarkov. Now, when you start off at the beginning of the wipe, you're going to be given a certain amount of equipment, guns, bags, etc., that you can use for obviously going in a raid, but then also incorporate working with storage. The first thing you want to be aware of, however, is depending on which version of the game you have, you get so much stash space. And if you have the base level of the game, you get a less or a smaller amount of space stash. And as you upgrade to the different versions of the game, you get more stash space. Honestly, any EOD player, which is the largest version of the game out there, they will tell you that that is what is worth it the most, as opposed to you also get this gamma pouch here, which is nice for sure, but if you had to pick one, it would absolutely be all the space. Now, you can upgrade your stash space if you have the base level of the game just by playing the game. However, it takes a lot of money, in-game money, not real money, a lot of money and a lot of loot in order to find different things to upgrade your pouch. Well, not your pouch, your stash space. You can also upgrade your pouch by completing various quests, and I believe there may be some barters for it as well. Let me see. There might be a barter for another pouch or alpha, epsilon, all those. Right here, yeah. So the beta, you can see tank battery, some other equipment, which gives you bigger space. You can buy the alpha. Those are nice, but the big thing is stash space. All right, so we'll talk about kind of more what you're working towards for now. When the wipe occurs, I will show you just how you can manage space right away. So as you progress throughout the game, there are different cases that can allow you to store things. So for example, one of the first things that you should buy, case-wise, is a Lucky Scav junk box. This immediately increases how much loot space you have for storing. Whether you're storing things for a task, for crafts, for upgrading your hideout, whatever. Those are very, very good and save you a ton of space and cost about 1 million rubles from therapists. Next, you typically are going to get a med case, I'd say. It's one of the next things. So you can see, again, upgrades a good amount of increased space. You can put any type of med in there. There is a backpack that takes up a little bit more space than this and gives you just about the same amount of space. So it's still beneficial for sure, but it's specifically a med backpack. There are also ammo cases, which help you store a lot of ammunition. You have magazine cases, which obviously store magazines. Food cases, store all your food and drinks. And grenade cases. For storing money, you can place it in wallets. In addition to key cards are in there too. You can place them in docs cases if you want. The sick cases. I personally, once you get to a certain point, will buy some money cases. And you can see it gives you a lot of space for storing money, which you can also put bitcoins in there as well. When you get kills, you get dog tags. You can put dog tags in your Lucky Scav junk box, or if you have a dog tag case, you can put them in there. That's all of those. There are these items cases as well that you can put various things like armor, helmets. They're pretty pricey for how little space you get, but they can be nice to have just to kind of consolidate different things. I've got one here just for Kappa items. Weapons. You have weapons cases. So here's an example. Now, this is something that I definitely want to point out. So you can see in here all these guns, none of them have a magazine in them and none of them have a grip on them. And so because of that, they shrink down into a lot smaller space and I can store quite a bit more in there. But the same thing applies to if you have a gun that you have built, but you want to kind of like leave set aside and you want to decrease the amount of space it takes up. So if I take this and I take the magazine out and I take the rear grip out, boom, already takes up less space. You can see I'm saving myself 4 slots just by doing that. All right. You also have thick weapons case. So this is the space of a thick weapon or a regular weapons case. Let me, and then this is the space of a thick weapons case. So you can see they take up the same amount of space here in your stash, but as far as how much space they offer compared to one another, you can see the difference. You get quite a few extra rows and another column out of it. There's different barters for how to get this. Since Bitcoin has been as cheap as it is this wipe, I've been just saving up Bitcoin to get more weapons cases, or if you save up enough plus GP coins, you can get thick weapons cases. So that's how I recommend storing weapons typically. You can also, what I'll do is I'll like have a box here where I just have suppressors and sights or different grips in. I mean, really break it down however you want, just so that things are organized. For keys, you can place them in docs cases. You can place them in SICK cases, and then there are also key tools which take up 1 slot and give you just a little less space than one of these guys here. What's nice is you can also put money in both of these. In a docs case, you can place Intel. You can place different things like an SAS drive. You can place diaries. So things like that can go in here. In your SICK case, I know you can place dog tags as well, which is really nice if you get a kill and you just throw it in there. So typically you're bringing one of these into raid as you move up through the wipe. Injectors case, another useful thing. In here, you can place 9 injectors at this time, and it's really nice so you can have some basic ones for getting into a fight, or potentially if you find some loot, like you find a morphine, just immediately drag it down into your injectors case, boom, it's there. That way, if you die, guess what? At least you get that out of the raid. So that's all those. Now, the last case that you really get to help consolidate is the thick items case. So that's this guy. Typically, you don't get one until I believe level 35 for a specific task, and then the barters later on that you get for it are pretty expensive barters. Now, what's nice about a thick items case is, one, it takes up a ton of space, kind of similar to our Lucky Scav junk box. I mean, actually, it is the same size, but instead you can put pretty much almost anything in here. Unfortunately, you can no longer put weapons cases in there. That was nice when you were able to do that before because it also helped consolidate things. But you can at least put magazine cases, grenade cases, backpacks, all that. I've got a couple more here just with some armor. And, you know, you get to a certain point with money-wise, and that's just how you want to spend it. That's kind of the top level of your stash management. Now, early on, there's different things you're going to be able to do, and I'll show the video of this a little bit later because wipe is going to be here soon, and I'm going to have to do some of that stash management. But some other pointers that are typically pretty universal across the board are, think about stacking backpacks. So inside the blackjack, I've got another blackjack, which gives me a little extra space. Inside, I have one of the raid bags, and then another raid bag gives me some extra space, and then another mechanism bag, some extra stuff in here, and then in there I have some stuff. So you can see how you just by doing that, one, I've got a lot of bags for the future, but then two, I can store things inside that way. I did the same thing up here, in there, or there. So it's another way that you can kind of consolidate your stuff in there. Early wipe, you might have a bunch of ammunition in a bag. You might have magazines in another bag. It's really up to you how you want to manage that, because it can save you some space and get a little extra room. Early wipe, you also can throw stuff in your rigs to save space, which we'll go over. But those are the main ways you can help manage your stash to start. Now, another thing to be aware of is sometimes, let's say you're in raid, you kill a rogue, and they had one of these rigs. So you can see this takes up 9 slots in my backpack. However, by clicking on it, you can see that I get way more than 9 slots of storage in here. So by throwing one of these in your bag, you can significantly upgrade what your loot situation looks like coming out of the raid. And that's really ideal for, say you have a really good raid and you have the chance to make a lot of money. This is the way you can continue maximizing. And there's a whole bunch of like Tetris sort of stuff that you can play with it. So for example, let's say I kill one of the players who had a TV 110. I throw that in the bag in addition to this. Look at all the extra space that I have there and the extra space here. I might take their gun, throw it in there. Maybe someone had an MP7. I'm throwing that. Like you can see how you just start stacking more and more stuff inside of your bag and the rigs that you find. But that's really a skill that you develop just as you continue to play. Again, as we hit the new wipe, all this sort of stuff becomes even more important because everyone's going to be running short on stash space because we won't have any of these cases. So early wipe, this is kind of what your stash is looking like. You can see it takes up a good amount of space. I mean, I have EOD and still have a decent amount, but there's still all this. Something you can do to help manage some of your space is something like stack your backpacks, put gear inside of your rigs. You can have one rig or one backpack that's like meds if you want, in place of having cases. You can sell items that you don't think you're going to use. Or another thing is you could throw, for example, a sight on one of your guns, take up space that way. Again, there's plenty of stuff that you probably want to get rid of that is going to be useless for you early on, and even sell. Like a lot of the fabrics, there's no point to having right away. But play around with that. You can create a lot more space right away, getting rid of stuff that you don't need.